Hey guys, hope you're doing good. This reading today is from Mark 12, verses 41 to 44. So I'm just going to read the verse and then I've got a couple of points that I want to share. So hopefully it's helpful. Um, so starting from verse 41, I'm reading out the NLT. So sorry if there's a bit of difference. Um, Jesus went over to the collection box in the temple and sat and watched as the crowds dropped in their money. Many rich people put in large amounts. Then a poor widow came and dropped in 2 pennies. He called his disciples to him and said, I assure you, this poor widow has given more than all the others have given, for they have given a tiny part of their surplus. But she, poor as she is, has given everything she has. So just to start off, the word that really stood out to me in this verse was surplus. So I did a quick Google search, and this is what Mr. Google has explained surplus to be. An amount of something left over when the requirements have been met, an excess of production or supply. So if we take a quick look back to Exodus 23, we've got this idea of the first fruits, that when the harvest came, the Israelites would offer the first fruits, the best of the harvest, to God as an offering in worship to him. And that's contrasted in this verse with the idea of the surplus, that like the surplus is this thing which has to be calculated. Like we've calculated our incomes, our outcomes, we've calculated our profits, and we're offering something out of our profits. Like we're offering something out of our state of comfort. And there's this sense in this verse which is like encouraging us and inviting us to offer something that isn't comfortable, to offer something that is costly to us. When we think of the idea of sacrifice, I think there's something inherent in sacrifice which is to do with loss, whether it's financial, whether it's like to do like whether it's sacrificing your time, whether it's sacrificing like emotionally. There's something inherent in sacrifice about loss, and I question that if you aren't losing something in your sacrifice, I question whether it's actually sacrifice at all. So we've got this central figure in this little passage, which is a widow. So we've got this almost like trinity of, socially, like social unluckiness, which is at this time, she was a woman, she was a widow, and she was poor. So she, like in all senses of the word, had nothing to offer, whether that was socially, whether that was romantically, whether that was financially. And yet there's something in this verse and in her offering, in her like measly offering of two pennies, that is most pleasing to Jesus, that got the attention of Jesus, that led him to point it out to his disciples. And I don't know about you, but I want to make offerings. I want to present worship that gets Jesus's attention, that pleases him. So I want to unpack this idea of why her offering was so so pleasing to God, and it starts with the cross. It starts with this sacrifice through which our whole life is lived as a response. The cross itself was not an offering out of the surplus. It was a costly sacrifice from the depths of God's love for humanity and for the world. That on the cross, Jesus's Abba became my God, my God. There was this like separation and destruction of intimacy. There was a separation of God the Father from the Son. Jesus even sweated blood in the garden. This wasn't a measly like sort of blasé life that he lived. This was a costly life. Like for all the miracles and for all the joy and the peace that he brought, this was ultimately like a 33-year death sentence. Like He knew where he was heading, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. This was the most costly sacrifice, and yet through that costliness, our debts were paid. We were liberated from the bondage of our actions, of our sin, to be able to live in the freedom of God, so that we might respond and offer our own resources, lives, emotions, feelings in response. And this, in my opinion, is what heaven looks like. When we look at Joel 2:28, he says he'll pour on the last, like in the last days, he'll pour his spirit out on all people. Like there's this sense of fullness that God isn't going to hold any of his spirit back, that his spirit will come in fullness, and that heaven will be a time of God offering his love in fullness to us, and us offering our love in fullness to God. There's this opportunity now to participate in the fullness of giving and of love and of offering and sacrifice and worship, because ultimately this is what we're going to be doing for the rest of time. So yeah, there's this real invitation to step into the fullness of God's love, and in doing so, that we might give our love fully to him, that we might give our finances fully to him, that we might give our emotions and feelings fully to him.